Does your life look pretty good from the outside? You've got food, a place to live, maybe a decent job. But inside, there's this constant, low-level hum of anxiety. A feeling that something is just off. If you feel this way, I want you to hear this loud and clear. You are not broken, and it's not a personal failure. It's actually a sign that your brain is working exactly as it was designed to. P.S. The first big secret most people never learn. Your brain was unbuilt to make you happy. It was built to keep you alive. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors' survival depended on one thing: spotting danger before it spotted them. The ones who were always a little on edge, always scanning the horizon for threats. Those were the ones who survived and passed on their genes. The chill, relaxed ones, not so much. Fast forward to today. Your apartment is safe. Your salary is stable. But your brain hasn't gotten the memo. It's still running that ancient survival software, constantly looking for what could go wrong. It magnifies every little discomfort, every strange thought, and flags it as a potential threat. So when you feel that tension, it's not because something is actually wrong with your life. It's because your brain is just doing its job it's been perfecting for millennia. This is where we get stuck. We think anxiety is a signal that our life is broken. We hear that inner alarm and we ask, what's wrong? Why do I feel this way? But in reality, for most of us, anxiety just means our ancient brain is overreacting to the modern world. It doesn't tell the difference between a real tiger and a stressful email. An uncertain future feels just as dangerous as an empty food supply. It reads any signal of discomfort, weird feeling in your stomach, a random worry as danger. And this is how we accidentally create the anxiety loop. It starts with a neutral sensation, maybe some restlessness or a strange thought. Your brain immediately labels it. This is important. You start paying close attention to it, asking, why am I feeling this? The more you focus on it, the stronger the sensation gets. Your brain then concludes, see, I told you this was serious. You're not imagining it. This is neuroscience. Attention amplifies whatever it focuses on. Here's the critical mistake we all make. We treat that anxious noise as important information. We start digging for answers. We analyze our childhood, our personality, our past traumas, searching for the root cause. We believe that if we can just understand it, we can solve it. But here's the thing, you can't think your way out of anxiety. It's not a philosophical puzzle. It's a physical state of your nervous system. Trying to analyze your anxiety while you re-anxious is like trying to put out a fire by staring at it really, really hard. All your brain hears is, this is super important. Stay on high alert. So, the alert system stays on. So, what's the solution? This is the radical shift that changes everything. Anxious feelings are not a command to think harder. They are a signal to change what you are doing. This goes against everything we're taught. We think we need to feel better first, and then we can get back to living our lives. But the brain works in the opposite way. First, you live. Then, the feeling changes. Movement comes before relief. Action comes before clarity. You don't have to fix your emotions first. You just have to redirect your attention. Why? Because anxiety feeds on self-focus. The more you watch yourself, check in on your feelings, and scan your body for problems, the more fuel you give it. Think about it. Our culture encourages this with endless self-help, journaling, and tracking our every mood. But here's the paradox. Your mind feels safest when it's least focused on itself. When you shift your attention outward to a task, a conversation, a walk outside, your nervous system gets a new message. It hears, all clear. No immediate threat here. And slowly, without you even trying, that background tension starts to fade. Not because you solved some deep-seated issue, but because you simply gave your brain a different job to do. There's a dangerous illusion in our culture that says, I need to fix myself before I can live fully. This is a trap. It keeps you waiting for a perfect inner state that will never arrive. There will always be another weird sensation, another doubt, another reason to put your life on hold. But your brain doesn't reward waiting. It rewards action and engagement. You don't become calm to start living. You start living, and calm shows up as a side effect. So, let's wrap this up. Here's the single most important idea to take away from this. Anxiety does not mean your life is broken. It doesn't need to be analyzed into submission. And it absolutely does not define who you are. It is simply your nervous system stuck on high alert. The most powerful sentence you can learn to tell yourself is this: I feel bad right now. But that doesn't mean anything is wrong with me or my life. Once you stop treating every bad feeling as an undeniable truth, it starts to lose its power over you. It becomes just noise, not a command. And that is the first step toward real freedom. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button for more insights on how to work with your brain, not against it. Have you ever felt like anxiety is just something that happens to you? Like a storm that rolls in without warning? Or just a string of bad luck? Well, I'm here to share an uncomfortable truth. For most of us, anxiety isn't the real problem. Anxiety is something we learn. And once we learn it, it can become a habit, a way of living that feels completely normal, even familiar. Think about it. Anxiety isn't some big, scary disorder that just appears out of nowhere. It's a pattern. It usually starts small. Maybe it's a moment of tension before a meeting, a single racing thought at night, or a strange feeling in your chest. Nothing dramatic, but then a critical thing happens. You notice it, and you react. You start asking questions. What is this feeling? Why am I feeling this way? What if it gets worse? That's the exact moment when anxiety stops being just a feeling and starts becoming a system. Your brain learns through repetition, and it's learning a very simple lesson. This sensation is important. We need to keep an eye on it. This is where everything changes. The human brain is incredibly practical. It doesn't sit around wondering if something is truly dangerous. It just asks one question. Is this getting a lot of attention? If the answer is yes, then it assumes it must be important. So, your brain starts connecting the dots. First, the anxiety appears. Then, your attention locks onto it. You start monitoring it, checking in on it. This focus actually makes the sensation feel more intense. And your brain's conclusion, wow, that was important. We should definitely do that again next time. This is exactly how the fear of fear is born. You're no longer afraid of an actual threat in the world. You're afraid of the feeling of anxiety itself. And that changes the entire game. Now, let's talk about the engine that keeps this whole thing running. Self-monitoring. This is one of the most overlooked mechanisms in modern psychology. The anxious person is constantly checking in on themselves. How do I feel right now? Is this feeling normal? Am I calm enough? Wait, is my heart beating too fast? Am I thinking the right thoughts? On the surface, this seems totally logical. It feels responsible, like you're just being careful. But your brain interprets this constant checking very differently. It hears, this situation must be really important. We need to stay on high alert. So it does. It keeps the alarm bells ringing, and the symptoms stay alive. It's a self-perpetuating cycle, fueled by your own attention. This is why fighting your anxiety actually makes it stronger. Most people try to beat anxiety by controlling it. They tell themselves to just calm down, to relax, to stop thinking anxious thoughts, to get rid of the symptoms. But trying to control it sends the worst possible message to your brain. It says, this feeling is dangerous. We have to eliminate it at all costs. Panter, your brain respond. It increases surveillance. It doubles down on the alert. That's why the more you try to calm down, the more agitated you become. The more you chase after a feeling of peace, the further away it seems, because you can't force peace. Anxiety literally feeds on your resistance to it. So, what's the solution? It requires a key shift in your perspective. Here's the sentence that can change everything. We suffer not because of anxiety, but because we interpret anxiety as a threat. This isn't just positive thinking. It's a neurological reset. The moment you stop treating anxiety as a dangerous enemy, your brain stops escalating the situation. There's no fight, no deep analysis, no drama. You just give it permission to be there. So, how do we actually do this? I want to share a 3-step exit from the anxiety loop. Now, this approach is going to feel counterintuitive, and that's precisely why it works. Step 1 is to allow the sensation. I don't mean just tolerate it or suppress it. I mean truly allow it to be there. No commentary, no attaching meaning to it. Just a simple acknowledgement. This feeling is happening right now. When you stop resisting anxiety, it starts to lose its power over you. Step 2 is to shift your attention outward. And I don't mean shifting it to positive affirmations or more self-reflection. I mean shifting it to the real world around you. Get up and move. Focus on a task. Get engaged in a physical action. Your brain doesn't calm down because you think different thoughts. It calms down when your attention leaves the internal alarm system and reconnects with the world outside. Step 3 is to act despite the discomfort. Every time you avoid something because you're anxious, You're teaching your brain that the fear was justified. But when you take action anyway, you teach it the opposite. Teach it, I was uncomfortable, but I survived. Nothing terrible happened. This is how your brain relearns what safety feels like, not through comfort, but through direct experience. The real turning point, the true breakthrough, happens when you stop checking to see if the anxiety is gone. Because the checking itself is the loop. When you finally stop monitoring yourself, your nervous system gets the message loud and clear. There is no emergency here. And then, slowly, without any effort on your part, anxiety starts to lose its relevance in your life. The core insight here is simple but profound. You are not broken. You didn't inherit a defective mind. You simply learned a reaction to a feeling. And anything that has been learned can be unlearned, not by forcing it, not by obsessing over it, but through gentle disengagement. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more content like this. What if I told you that the biggest lie about happiness is also the most common? It's a simple, innocent-sounding idea. Happiness is a feeling you should have. This one belief keeps millions of people stuck in a loop of misery. Why? Because we've been taught to chase happiness as if it's a destination, a prize to be won. But happiness isn't a state you achieve. It's a byproduct. It's what happens when you're busy doing something else. Have you ever noticed what happens the moment you ask yourself, am I happy right now? In that split second, the feeling vanishes. You're no longer living in the moment. You're observing it. And happiness is shy. It can't exist under direct observation. When you turn your attention inward to check on your own feelings, you've stepped out of the flow of life. Happiness doesn't appear when you're self-monitoring. It appears when you're completely absorbed in something outside of yourself. Think about it. A musician lost in a melody. An artist focused on a canvas. A child building a sandcastle. They aren't thinking about being happy. They just are. Our brains are wired for this. Your nervous system doesn't reward you for reflecting on your own state of being. It rewards you for engagement. It feels safest and most alive when you are doing, building, interacting, solving, or creating. The moments we feel most unexpectedly alive often come during deep work, physical activity, meaningful conversations, or while tackling a challenging problem. It's not because we felt good first and then decided to act. It's because we acted, and in doing so, we stopped checking if we were happy. The feeling of well-being emerged naturally from our engagement with the world. So, how do we get out of our own way and let this process happen? It comes down to 3 core pillars of psychological stability. First, action before mood. This is a game changer. Most of us wait to feel ready, motivated, or inspired before we start something. We think, I'll go to the gym when I feel more energetic, or I'll work on my project when I feel creative. This is a trap. The reality is that mood follows action, not the other way around. You have to move first, engage first, start the task, even if it's for just 5 minutes. Your nervous system will catch up. The feeling of motivation doesn't precede the action. It's generated by the action itself. Start the engine, and the car will move. Don't wait for the car to move on its own. The second pillar is involvement over introspection. A life filled with meaningful tasks, projects, and connections leaves very little room for anxiety to grow. This isn't because your problems magically disappear. It's because your most valuable resource, your attention, is being used productively. When your mind has a purpose, a problem to solve, or a skill to learn, it has less space for self-obsession and worry. An idle mind can become a workshop for anxiety, but a busy, engaged mind is a powerhouse for growth and contentment. The goal isn't to be thoughtless, but to direct your thoughts outward, toward the world you want to build and the life you want to live. The third and final pillar is acceptance, instead of the obsession with self-improvement. We live in a culture that constantly tells us we need to be better, calmer, happier, more confident, more productive. We're always trying to fix ourselves. But what if you stopped demanding constant perfection from yourself? What if you gave yourself permission to be human? The brain doesn't need you to be a flawless robot of positivity. It needs you to accept your natural range of emotions. It's okay to feel anxious sometimes. It's okay to have a bad day. True stability doesn't come from eliminating all negative feelings. It comes from learning to coexist with them without letting them derail you. There's a quiet but incredibly powerful shift that happens when a person finally stops trying to fix themselves. They stop waking up and asking, "What's wrong with me today?" Or "How can I feel happier?" Instead, they start asking a much more practical and powerful question. What am I going to do with my life today? At that moment, the internal battle ceases and life resumes. The focus shifts from the impossible task of controlling your feelings to the tangible task of directing your actions. And that's where all your power lies. Here's the final truth that brings everything together. You are not required to be happy. You are not obligated to feel good all the time. Those are not your jobs. Your only real responsibility is to live, to act, to engage with the world around you, to move forward, even imperfectly. When you stop obsessively trying to manage your internal state, when you stop interfering with your brain's natural mechanisms, it finally gets the space it needs to do what it evolved to do. Restore balance. It finds its own equilibrium. Happiness is not something you find by looking for it. It is what happens when you stop standing in the way of life. If you're still here, still watching my videos, I just want to say something simple. Thank you. In this world of endless noise and constant distractions, the fact that you choose to spend your time here with me means more than you can possibly imagine. It means you're one of those rare people who wants to go deeper, who wants to question things, and who looks for answers inside yourself, not just on the surface. I am honestly so happy that there are people like you who share these interests, these questions, and this search for meaning. So, if you feel like this space resonates with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and maybe share this video with someone you know who might need it. Your support helps this content reach more people who are also quietly searching. Thank you for being here, really.